Could be a foul. And we're live.
Hello, Brad. What's going on?
I am doing stuff and things, my friend. Stuff and things.
I wouldn't dream of stopping you.
I am excited. I am ready. We're going to talk about fixing lists. You made me up again with a. We made me up in a different way this time, and I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just can't rest when there are lists to be fixed, honestly. Like, it haunts me at night that I know that there are lists out there that could be better.
So there's things and there's stuff. Well, hopefully someone plays Eldar. Generic hero, if you want to put in your list for submission, you have to go to the Discord. I'll fix my list and put them up there, preferably not in battle scribe form. And then you have to put a sacrifice to the Jack Gods, and then you can get your list put up here.
Yes, because I am the jealous tyrant who is deciding which lists go on. If you play nice, that goes a long way. Also, if you're looking for a solution against Tau as Eldar, may I interest you in 3 Falcons that go in Deep Strike and then come in turn 1. Or turn 2, if they're not careful. So, it's a good way to hide some of your army against an Alpha Strike, because they're in reserves, but then they still come in turn 1. So, just something to think about. Also, yes, hide your Eldar better. That's, I mean, like, just the whole being seen thing, not about it.
The best way to not get shot is to not be seen. I know that sounds very basic, but it's the truth. 9th edition 40k is very, very lethal for any army. Okay, of course, including Tau. So that's a big deal on that is tuck in, hide. If they bring the double planes at you, you have to make it so that when they make their runs at you, that they're taking very steep angles so that you can punish those planes after they do their shots.
Yeah, the planes are super vulnerable to getting killed. And so if you can turn them into one-use weapons, you can't deny them to your opponent, unfortunately, because they're so fast that they will just see something if they want to see it. If you want to leave something where planes can't shoot it, Falcon is a great place. Alternatively, just let them kill something and then kill them back. So don't design your list to have like one linchpin unit, or the planes will go and trade for it, and they'll suck. But if you have a lot of redundant units, planes go and trade for one of them, you trade for the planes, cool, who cares?
All the things. Do we want to talk about some Nurgle?
I'd love to. Yes. So we've got Rem over here. I believe he's got some notes. So I will pull that up. Yes. Do you have some feedback on the list, the Death Shrouds and the Lord of Contagion, the LOC, go into the Dreadclaw, and together with the drones, Rhino, and Morty, I want to pin the enemy into his table half, potentially going for engage on all fronts. Poxwalkers hold the back, although I'd love to fit a spawn in there to be able to do some actions, but the Tallyman can take this role if necessary for the mission. I feel like I'm missing the meat in this list, though, aka an additional Plague Marine unit or 3 Death Shrouds. Any ideas? What would you add if we took Morty out of the equation? By the way, focusing on WTC terrain. Brad, first take of this list. Do you think it needs more trash, or do you think it needs more beef?
A little tiny bit of each. I'm glad that he said, asked me the question, what would we get without having Morty, because it's a lot.
I'm not against Morty. He has gotten significantly better.
He's gotten significantly better, but the Shrouds and the Plague Marines are doing most of the damage here. Since the Plague Marines effectively got 110 points of free gear now.
To be fair, they were deeply overcosted before, but yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's one of the big things in this list for your damage dealing, because they're a little bit more versatile with flails, meltas, and everything else, the damage that carries over. It's a big deal on that. And if he wants to put a style of play where you're putting people, holding them in their backfield, we just need more stuff. And yeah, I'd like to have another nasty unit of hand-to-hand with that foul blight spawn to make it so that you can push up take one of those midfield objectives and really put the beats on somebody. So we could take a full another unit of Death Shrouds and a unit of Plague Marines for Morty and have points left over.
For those of you watching at home, Brad is allergic to units like Mortarion.
100%.
That's not to say that Morty is bad. In fact, I think he's got a role in 9th edition right now. But Brad is an Eldar player where none of his units are allowed to be over 150. Baharoth went over 150, and so
he got cut.
So Brad executed him like he was Old Yeller. So Brad's style of play, you got to be everywhere. Well, Mortarion doesn't really do that. Mortarion is a giant brick, and you hit your opponent with it until they stop moving. I do think he can be good in a Death Guard list for sure.
100%. He's also a huge bullet magnet. So that's
Yes.
a very good. I mean, he's not bad. Don't get me wrong. He's also awesome looking. I mean, I have a Mortarion. I played him before. So he's a cool model too. And he does monster mash when he shows up in combat.
Certainly do, which I like the combination with the bloat drones, because the bloat drones, like the guns that would want to shoot bloat drones are going to be shooting Mortarion.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, if we overlay that more, I love bloat drones. 12 attacks is so big, and the fact that they have the CP strat to heroic 6 is a big deal, because you can take objectives from around and protect them with the bloat drones. Plus, they're one of the faster things in a slow moving army. So I love me some bloat drone.
Yeah, I do agree with the bloat drones. I think the place I would lean to cut would be wouldn't be Morty. I think Morty is fine. I think the drop pod with the Terminators in it feels less than ideal. I mean, Terminators can deep strike natively.
Yeah.
So you didn't see nothing.
I didn't see nothing.
You didn't see nothing. So yeah, I think
I mean,
Terminators can deep strike natively. I'm not against Terminators. I think that they get like just a couple 3-mans and then maxing out Plague Marines, I think would be the way to go.
It's a
So how
separate
would
type of
we-
army at that point in time, though. I like to have that big, not even big, but just like 4+ Death Shroud Terminators. With if you're gonna have the Blight Spawn sitting around, he's so good. He's got the Revolting Stitch Vats with him, so you have that aura of people charging in and not counting as charging. And Death Shroud Terminators will just put people down. You don't want to
That
have
is
too
that's
small of
true.
a unit to make it so that you can survive that.
You can also bodyguard Morty heading up the board too, because a lot of the time they'll have to kill him in combat, and if you can't do that, yikes. But what I would do is I would start cutting some of these transports, honestly. Like I'd cut the Dreadclaw, I'd cut the Rhino, which already gets you almost all the way to another Plague Marine unit. Then I would probably cut the Lord of Contagion down to a Plague Caster and cut a Death Shroud Terminator and maybe a Tallyman, and then maybe a Poxwalker unit, and that'll probably get you to another 10-man unit. Could be off on my points, 130, 160. No, that's actually exactly it. One Death Shroud, the Tallyman, and
Yeah.
cutting the Lord of
I know.
Contagion to a Plague Caster gets you another
Yeah, I'm not a Lord of
10-man Marine
Contagion
with a
fan
Poxwalker
either,
unit.
so 100% on that.
If you cut a Poxwalker unit as well, that gets you a 10-man. So if you make those two cuts, right, like you cut 2 Poxwalkers, you cut the Rhino, you cut the Dreadclaw, you cut a Death Shroud, you cut the Tallyman, you cut the Lord of Contagion down to a Plague Caster, and you cut like a unit of Poxwalkers, you're left with like 40 Plague Marines, 3 Death Shrouds, 2 Fetid Bloat Drones, Mortarion, and 10 Poxies. Does that sound beefy enough for you, Brad?
Sounds beefy enough. I mean, I think we could do the same thing if you want to just give options for not having something that makes my heart palpitate, which is Mortarion.
Listen, Brad, I understand. If I handed you a list, told you had to play at an event, and it had Mortarion in it, you would legitimately die.
I have played him in a tournament, by the way. That's a real thing.
Really?
I like the way the big boys look. Hey, remember, the rule of cool always applies.
True. So Mortarion is cool, so I will hear no more slander.
But just if, I'm saying, as he was talking about, because we could really spam everywhere on this board, and I really like that Death Guard army quite a bit. Spamming stuff everywhere makes me happy.
It makes up for the fact they're slow if you are everywhere on the board. That's generally how that
because
works.
we could, if we didn't have that, we could actually take a third bloat drone of no Dreadclaw, 4 Plague Marines, and double Death Shrouds.
Yeah, you get a ton of Plague Marines and Death Shrouds instead of Mortarion, but there are sometimes Mortarion bowling balls into your opponent's army, and you never have to deal with them again.
True.
They spend the entire game wailing on Mortarion. Mortarion spends the entire game wailing on them, and either Mortarion wins or your opponent wins, and like, who really cares? Because they've dedicated their entire time. Across the tabletop, I actually disagree. Depending on the style of Necrons, I think Death Guard can give them a really good game.
Once they touch them, they beat the crap out of them.
Yeah. Death Guard kill Necrons real good, and Necrons are early 9th edition data sheets. They don't kill, Death Guard that particularly well. They don't kill Mortarion very well at all if you have him. And if you take the center objective with objective secured, and you kind of just tell them to, kick rocks.
That's why I actually like
another
Death Shroud at that point in time. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Death Shrouds, Plague Marines, Morty, the whole 9 yards, fetid bloat drones. Necrons just struggle to kill them at any kind of speed. And then you're just like, yep, I have all the objectives. Thank you very much. And then they're sad and they cry.
Yeah, damage -1 is a big deal at that point in time because you're not picking up the 3 wound guys very well. So it's difficult for you to get around.
Not a lot of D3 plus 3 in that book.
Yeah, so I'd like to have some shrouds pushing out. I just like to get more stuff. So as usual, but
yeah. Obviously, you will not rest until the average price point in the army is less than 100.
There's nothing wrong with this, my friend. There's nothing wrong with this. But if we didn't have the big boy, we could literally have 8 Death Shrouds, 40 Plague Marines, Boxwalkers, and 3 bloat drones.
That sounds good. But Mortarion also sounds good. So if you want to leave Mortarion in, I think you go to the route I was saying, where you cut a whole lot of this extraneous stuff in here, and you fill out 20 more Plague Marines.
Well, that's kind of,
you still have Mortarion.
You just put in so much more damage. That's the thing. In the end, we always have to ask ourselves, one of the questions we always go over this again. One of the questions you have to ask yourself is, do I have enough damage?
Yes.
To push your opponent off.
If you don't have enough damage, you are not tall enough to ride this ride. If it doesn't matter how well you play if when you show up to the table you did not bring enough damage to open the gate and let you in to play the game. If your opponent is running something you can't kill, you probably are going to lose unless they horrifically mess up, which they might.
Going into the chat, by the way, I agree on all of the bacon quotes. And the second is, how does this play into Tyranids? This specifically, the changes we're talking about are specifically making the army better into Tyranids, because one of the biggest things into Tyranids is you have to be able to punch them hard enough to get them off the middle objectives, because that's their whole game plan, is to basically push that, take that from you.
Hey, at least Mortarion has a feel no pain against those mortal wounds that are coming.
Yeah.
Across the tabletop, your game plan is to stop their score as much as possible. If you just move to the center objective and you move to the side objective and you camp on it, then your Necron opponent is going to find it hard to score their Treasures of Aeons. They're going to find it hard to score their Ancient Machineries. So you can limit their score. Also, if you can start making them score, 4s or 8s, that would be great as well. Synact the Fate Twister says this looks like a stat checklist, and I agree. That is, unfortunately, that's what all slow armies need to be. Is they either need to be a stat check army or a shooting army, or they need to teleport, and that's like kind of it.
Yeah, this is why I just want more stuff to be able to do more damage and to have more threats.
True. So you're thinking like if we cut Morty, you get like 60 Plague Marines and.
Well, I think like I'd do 40 or 50 Plague Marines, double Death Shroud, and I'd like one more bloat drone because it does add speed.
Triple blow drone is baller.
Yeah, and it just lets us take those middle objectives quickly, and it also makes it so they can't just disrespect with a forward deploying unit because the rest of the army is so slow, and take an objective from us early because the blow drones will be able to push up and charge them really quickly. So I can kind of throw one of them away and beat up on a small unit.
Yeah, I think if you have Mortarion, I don't want the Rhino because that's just too much points tied up in not Plague Marines. But I think if you don't have Mortarion, I like the Rhino just to give a unit of Plague Marines a little more speed.
Yeah, because you zoom them up and you advance it basically.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I do. I'd leave the Rhino in if you cut Mortarion, but if you don't, you need to start finding points.
We just need more stuff. That is one of the issues when you have, my voice is just jacked. When you have a big centerpiece, is they're just so pricey that you can't afford to have anything extraneous. You have to have more stuff if you're going to take that for sure.
Yeah. So generic hero. Stat check means an army that is designed to just take your opponent's best hit rather than avoiding it. So there's two kinds of armies. Generally, there's a lot of kinds of armies, but here's two categories. One that's looking to outmaneuver your opponent, so that'd be Eldar, Harlequins, things like that. And one that's looking to just tank your opponent and to just take your opponent's best hit, power through it, and keep on trucking. And so the take your opponent's best hit is called a stat check army because you're checking your opponent's stats. If they don't have the correct stats, they do not get to play the game. There is a power to that. There is also a lot of ways that a stat check army can be played well and a stat check army can be played poorly. There is a conception that if your army is a stat check, then it's played the same whether you are, the number 180 ranked player at the event or the number 1 ranked player at the event. That is not the case. The ability to put on pressure, the ability to respond to your opponent is a big deal because no army in the game can take 5 turns of your opponent just wailing on you. None. None of them can take like 2 of that, 3 of that.
However, if your opponent pushes everything to all the objectives for 3 turns, it doesn't matter what happens in turns 4 and 5.
That can be the case. And recognizing that is crucial, but also responding to your opponent and making them use their resources to hit you. And then you pick up their resources in return. Right. So now they don't have the ability to interact with you as well. It's a very big deal. So I just wanted to push back against the idea that it's a stat checklist. That's not a good thing. Something like that.
Gotcha. Let's talk about some Kraken.
Yeah, let's talk Kraken. What's Kraken, my man? Do you want to do Mortal Wounds? Because this list does Mortal Wounds.
It's not playing around. This is a Kraken battalion. Neuro, Tervagon, 2 units of 10 gargoyles, 30 Termagants to hang out with the Tervagon, 9-man warrior block with triple venom cannon, Maliceptor, 3 venom throws for the -1 aura, 3 units of 3 Zoes for all of the smites, and 3 Biovores and a Sporocyte Cyst. So, my first thoughts on this are, I don't know why I want it to be Kraken. My second
Kraken fast. I do think if you're doing the Termagants with the Tervagon, I think you want to be Leviathan.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, 9 warriors. We got a 9 warrior Brock. We've got the Zoe, we got triple Zoes. There's nothing in here that's trying to get you super fast. We're just trying to smite you down. I'd also like to see these Biovores become probably 3 1s, to be honest.
The Biovores becoming what?
3 1-mans.
No, because then when they do the action, you can only do 1 of those actions.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to get 3 1-mans, or sorry, 2 more 1-mans in this to do what we're trying to do.
2 additional.
Sorry,
but the unit of 3 Biovores is the best.
Yeah, yes. No. I'm saying I want 3 units of Biovores. How about that? Sorry.
That tracks. But the 3 units of Biovores can't all do the action. It's weird.
Right.
All right. So first off, I want to acknowledge the Hawaiian shirt love in the chat. And I love you too. Ron Huntone says Jack rocking up to the table with a Hawaiian shirt and a mic is the ultimate stat check. What's your opinion on that, Brad?
But say that in English again.
Ron Huntone says Jack rocking up to the table with a Hawaiian shirt and a mic is the ultimate stat check. What's your response?
It is 100% a stat check. I do like the fact that he said that you got in, that you're ready to bust out some karaoke.
Of course. And thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. All right. Yeah, I mean, Brad says D3 plus 3 advance plus fly plus psychic is pretty nice. I agree, but the Termagants really want two things from Leviathan. They want that 5-up invuln from the psychic power, the Leviathan psychic power. They want that 5-up invuln really bad.
Yeah.
And they would like to be baby transhuman, both of those. And that makes the entire unit very difficult to deal with, especially with Catalyst. I played against it on stream. It was annoying, trust me. And if you're going that route, I do think you want to be Leviathan.
Yeah. I mean, you've got some good range with this already. So it's the thing is that we're not pushing up, because the best counter for your opponent against this type of list right here is to actually punch it. So being Leviathan is very nice. I don't want to run up as far.
Yeah. I also think that we can lean harder into the concept that's going on here, and I think it would benefit from it. I'm not sure why the 9 warriors are there, to be honest.
Well, he's looking for, it's because he's looking at a crack and he's trying to get them somewhere. But we're literally looking to take the table and put you into a box of smite.
Box of sadness.
Yeah. And also, we're looking to basically do shenanigans here. I think it's horribly underrated to put out mines, because they not only they add mortals, but they make it really annoying to move around.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. What I want here is I want to shore up the weaknesses of this, take the center of the board, and do Mortals plan. And I think that 9 warriors just, I mean, in Leviathan, you can make them pretty durable. I'm not going to lie. They are pretty durable. But what I really want is another 30 Termagants here.
See, I want the 3/1/1 Biovores. I want to really lean into the mortals.
Well, guess what, Brad? We can Por qué no los dos. If we cut the 9 warriors, we get 30 Termagants and 2 1-man Biovores.
Why do we want 30 Termagants again? I don't know.
You only want 30?
I don't know if I want another 30, because I kind of do want some harpies in this list then, if we were going Leviathan. Because I could put a little psychic upgrade on my harpy and string that psychic powers all the way across the board. Plus drop more spore mines.
Yeah, I just think harpies, if you go first, they're awesome. If you go second, you're not Tau. You can't redeploy them into reserves.
As Leviathan, they're not going away as easily, though. Transhuman's a thing.
I agree. They are tougher. They're expensive with heavy venom cannons. I would personally go Stranglethorn cannons on them. Keep them 175.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I would just like to be able to fly over and do some shenanigans. It also makes me be able to cast some more psychics early, too.
Yeah. I think this is just a case of the 9 warriors don't really belong in this concept. While being a strong unit generally, they tend to rely on being on overwhelming people with the fact that can you deal with 1 warrior unit? Yes. Can you deal with 2? Can you deal with 3? No. Can you deal with 4?
Yeah.
Question mark.
And the thing is, if we're gonna slap down a big boy like a Turvagon, he is giving you, just like a chat says, he's gonna give us 10 free bros anyways.
Yeah. So if you think about it, Brad, he's 135, and you could include him.
By the way, he is at Q Dog's house.
Hey, don't dox me, Brad.
Look, man, just because you're invading
Quentin's house,
you're invading other people's homes
by force.
He just broke into the house.
They actually don't even know I'm here.
There is not a point of the Turbogon if we got the Turbogans.
No. I want to leave the Termagants. I want to leave the Turbogon. Oh, you're talking to Peter. Yeah.
They're kind of a go together deal.
I mean, we could go to Leviathan and cut the Termagant package and include more warriors. I'm more interested by the Termagant package personally, and I want to build into that.
I'm not that interested in the Termagant.
It's really frustrating, Bradley. It's really annoying.
I would just like to put spore mines over the entire board and smite my opponent into an early grave.
You can do both. You can do both. So imagine being a sad sack Necron player looking at 30 Termagants that will like bring back 2d6 plus d3 plus 3 at the start of the turn before you score points and have a 5-up invuln mini transhuman and a 5-up feel no pain. I personally would cry if I were that Necron player. I would cry bitter tears. If they're on the center objective, I would leave the game. I would tell the judges that my opponent tried to physically assault me because that's what it felt like. And then I will go to the bathroom to cry. That's my game plan.
That is your game plan?
Yes.
I'm just looking at it and thinking to myself that I'd like to really lean into this spore mines and smites and just psychic my opponent.
That's true. The only way to go harder on spore mines than this and mortal wounds is to include double harpy, which I think is fine. At that point, you probably do cut the Turvagon and the Termagants, and you include like another second Neurothrope, and then you include double harpies.
I don't hate that either.
Yeah. But yeah, I would. You know what? I agree with Brad. I think you cut the Warriors and Squad of Gargs, and you get double harpy, and then you are yes on mortal wounds. Just si, senor.
And then I'd like 2 more single Biovores. Be as annoying as humanly possible. Also, just putting that spore site behind a wall and just having it make spores is hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's John has his in his list for Crucible. He has a spores list and 3 Biovores. By the way, just a PSA, I personally really like Stranglethorn Cannon. I said it before, I'll say it again. Stranglethorn Cannons over Heavy Venom Cannons on the Harpies, and no upgrades, personally. Because, yeah, I mean, include in Leviathan, it's probably worth to include the Synapse upgrade. But I've seen Heavy Venom Cannon Harpies get up to price points you would not believe. They are very expensive, and when they die, you're sad. And when they die and they're 175 points with double Stranglethorn Cannon, you're significantly less sad. And that's really all you need to know.
Funny thing is, we're talking about that. I'm not 100% sure what each High Fleet's colors are. So
yeah, this isn't like Marines. Remember that time, Brad? Remember that time when people flirted with the idea of like, if your army isn't painted, Crimson Fists, you can't play Crimson Fists?
Yeah, that's nonsense.
It was garbage because it only applied to Marines too. Nobody knows the colors of Valhalla. Nobody knows the color of Zarakan. People know Blood Angels. So
yeah, it's all good. Most people are going to be cool about it.
Yeah, that's in the past now. So pretty firmly.
But I really like that. I like the idea of this. Just because Mortal Wounds is the great equalizer on the fact of if you have units that are very difficult to take care of, if you have no answer for something, Mortal Wounds is typically just the answer.
Yeah, they build up, right? Like the damage might not get them turn 1, but there's no way to avoid it, and there's no way to get around it, and so they will eventually just crumble.
100%.
Beneath the Psychic Onslaught. Maybe I'll take 15 Zoanthropes to Chicago. I can do it.
All of the spores. 15 Zoes, all of the spores.
15 Zoes, 3 Biovores, a Spore Assist, a Neurothrope, maybe a second one because screw it, and then 2 Harpies. And it's just, and a Maliceptor.
Love everything.
Honestly, out of this build, I would cut the Maliceptor before I would cut the Termagants, before I'd cut the Warriors or any of that. The -1 Strength Aura is really the part where you want to include the Maliceptor. Because the Mortal Wounds is not good enough by itself, I think, for its price point. You have to want to be like, oh, I'm toughness 8 and you're -1 strength. And guess what? You can't deal with that. So you're not relying on a lot of monsters. I'd probably cut the Maliceptor and then probably trim Warriors down to Termagants and then get like 2 Flyers in there. So like trim the Warriors to a 30-man Termagant and then then you get two planes for the Maliceptor. Maybe you need to cut a little more than that. I don't know. You'll have to figure it out. Maybe you have to cut 10 Gargs as well, but that's what I would do. Brad, yes, 15 is always his crazy talk, but I'm a crazy man, so there you go.
Crazy man. Crazy man doing crazy things.
Crushing Miniatures says, bet you won't. No bet. No bet on that.
Step up to the plate, Jack. Step up to the plate.
No bet. No bet. I wanna keep people on their toes.
I love everything. I don't know. What do you think about this? I think that we have options here.
I think we do. Tyranids do mortal wounds like nobody else. So leaning into that does bop. It bangs, Brad.
Let's go with generic hero. Off topic here, when concerning mortal wounds, can you use mortal wounds to overcome the limited damage for phase that Phoenix Lord and Abaddon have? You cannot.
No. But it can help if you do mortal wounds in the psychic phase. Because, if you do mortal wounds in the psychic phase, then you shoot them, then you charge them. That's 3 phases as opposed to, the 2 that you would have if you just shot and charged. But no, they're only allowed to lose 3 wounds per phase, and mortal wounds are losing wounds, so it counts.
Let's do stuff. Now here's the meme, guys, where Jack just went, hey, what do you think about your old list?
I mean, does it say your name at the top?
It does not say my name at the top. However,
why are you taking credit for Noxoses or Noxus? Noxus. I played, League and Legends of Runeterra and stuff. Noxus. It's Noxus. Okay. Yeah, why are you taking credit for his list, Brad? This isn't steal my list. This is fix my list.
We're not gonna. I don't have a ton of stuff to fix on my list there.
Yeah, I will. I'm not gonna lie. I did get partway through and go, oh, this list doesn't need fixing.
Yeah, you're like, hey, is this the list that Brad and I talked about before we went to WDC for a long time?
Is this exactly the list you talked about?
Yeah, this is before we decided to cut the Shining Spears. That's the it.
Oh, well, let's talk about why you decided to cut the Shining Spears then, because you're not currently playing this, so we can...
Yeah.
I believe you were playing Beal Tan, you big liar.
Oh, what's that?
I believe you were playing Beal Tan, you gigantic liar.
I've taken Beal Tan to 0 tournaments.
Yeah, but I think the list you were considering for WTC had Beal Tan.
No, I considered all of the list at first. That was the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
But this is...
Anyway, let's... Crushing Miniatures asks, why the Warwalker? Because they are efficient.
65 points for 6 shots with Hail of Doom, auto wounding on 6s, and 6s count as a 6 to wound, so they are AP3, 2 damage. And they also are 6 wounds, T6 with a 5 up, 3 up, 5 up. So they're not super easy to kill, they're not unbelievably hard to kill, but they're very nice for what they are, which is 65 points of being irritating. And they're also a fantastic later game move blocker too, because they can just run up and be a vehicle in a very heavy night meta where you just go, hey, would you like to take a turn murdering my 65 point unit? And the answer is usually no.
No. Yeah, and also because of Fate dice and they have an invuln, they're just really annoying to deal with. Your opponent hits them with the Silent King and does 2 wounds. You're like, I have 2 6s sitting over here, so that didn't do anything. Thank you very much. And then they fire like the remainder of their guns and they get it down to 2 wounds. And I'm like, that's the sound you will hear.
But I am running Shining Spears right now, and I love them. They were so good.
Are you running Heart Strike with the Paragon Saber?
Hell yes, I am.
I hate that man. I hate him so much because he's letting me down personally.
Mortal wounds, my friend. Mortal wounds.
Whenever I played him, I'd be like, listen, buddy, I'd take him to the side like I'm his coach, putting him in for, T-ball. And I would be like, listen, buddy, no pressure, okay? Okay, it's just a big moment in the game. All right. And I just need you got this, right? I know you can do this. I just need 2 mortal wounds out of you. That's all I need. I'm not asking for 3. I'm not asking for 4. Just 2. And he gives me 0 or 1. No wounds.
He's full rerolls to hit and wound.
Yeah, but when you need him to give you those 5 ups, guess what happens to the 5 ups? They go away, Brad. They don't exist.
You just don't treat him right. That's the problem.
I was very nice. I was less nice after that, I'll be honest. He left the list immediately. But I'm not against him. I'm not against Shining Spears. Other people will not have that problem, I'm sure. I do want some Vipers in here. Vipers do be good. They'd be cheap. They're fast. They're even better move blocks. Generic Hero asks, yes, finally, Eldar. Question I've had for a long time is Bright Lance versus Star Cannons. I would take a Bright Lance over a Star Cannon every day.
Every single day.
What's up?
I would take Bright Lights over Star Cannon every single day.
Every single day. Star Cannon's profiles still make me sad. Why is it 2 shots? Why does it do nothing? That's what I want to know, Brad. Why is it almost a Bright Lance?
It's I either want a Bright Lance or I just want to go with Shuriken Cannons. So Star Cannon's just in that weird position right now, unfortunately, because if I'm doing, I can always have the chance for hail. So if I want long distance dedication with a higher strength value, I'm going hail. I'm going Bright Lance. If I want just a 2 damage weapon, I'm going to just take the Shuriken Cannons.
Yeah, that's basically where it is. Also, they're just overpriced for what they do. 2 shot, strength 7, AP 3, damage 2, if I'm remembering correctly, is not a terrible profile, but when that's your main gun, that's a little disappointing. Yeah, that it's not as cheap as a Shuriken Cannon, so it's not like, ooh, I barely spent any points on this. It's fine. And it's debatably worse with Hail of Doom because it doesn't auto wound on 6s to hit.
Right.
And then, yeah, it's just overpriced. It's like 15 points for a Star Cannon, 20 for a Bright Lance, and like 5 for a Shuriken Cannon. And you're like, yeah, either the Shuriken Cannon or the Bright Lance, please.
Yeah, I'm either going all in.
Oh, Ganny J is talking about that triple prism mech Hail of Doom list that I'm playing this weekend, and potentially is also going to play this weekend. I have a triple prism, triple falcon, triple viper, double warwalker, Baharoth, 2 farseers, and troops list.
You know, I'm gonna say
and also 3x6 Star Avengers.
I did miss Baharoth over the last 2 weekends.
Then you are a heathen.
I know. I did have a Webway gate though, my friend.
That's true. Webway gate's Bob. But did you miss like having free games? Because that's what it feels like Baharoth does sometimes.
I missed it bouncing around, but the problem is that when you get to a certain level of people, they played against Baharoth so much that they screen him out like pretty much almost automatically, and he hits so lackluster with his strength 5.
Yeah, I disagree. What I think is that he's OBSEC that goes everywhere and anywhere, and he just like chips away at your opponent constantly.
Yeah, no, he's not bad. I just didn't miss it because I had a gate, and the gate made me laugh and tickle inside.
That's true. The gate is nuts. When you know you can place it, I think that's pretty bananas because I mean you just come right out of it into combat with your opponent. Like, what are your
and I did actually take the patrol. I took double rangers and a unit of guardians, and I did not hate it because I got so many CP doing that. It was very, very nice.
Yeah. Do we need nerve shredding shriek in here?
No.
Like that Banshee unit feels like a discount.
What's that?
Do we need nerve shredding shriek in here, or can we just go like another unit of shining spears or something with good profiles?
The double banshees is a big deal because of the cutting off Overwatch for one.
Okay.
There's just a lot of times when you just need them to be fighting last. Because when in this list you're looking at the Scorps, the spears, the banshees, sometimes Baharoth and Karandras all going into things, and you want to do multi-assaults throughout the game. So you're going to have 2 or 3 turns when you're in 3 different combats, and or you're in like 2 combats, with everybody being in those combats, and you need them to be fighting last so they can't interrupt.
Okay, fair enough. There's a lot of combat in this list, so yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, I think the list is generally good. They had notes on it, and then we'll get to this comment section. This comment section is banging. All right, Hail of Doom list optimization. Have some inventory looking to expand on it. Debating if a single battalion would be better and the trade-off between Vipers and Warwalkers. Okay. So in my mind, I think I think you want a mix of Vipers and Warwalkers because they do different like things. Warwalkers move slower, contribute to shooting more. Vipers are cheaper, so you don't care less about throwing them away, and are faster and have fly. So they're excellent, like run onto an objective, take it away, things like that. Because a Warwalker moves 10 and advances D6, and a Viper moves 16 and advances 6. So they're different on the speed front. So like 2 of each is pretty good. I personally would cut either the Nurturing Shriek Howling Banshees, although Brad does think that they're essential, and I respect his opinion for some reason, or 3 Shining Spears.
I've also been playing Eldar the entire year, so I put in some serious games. And it's just one of those things where if I didn't have the fight last and or the the Overwatch and stuff like that, there's just a lot of combats you can't put yourself into.
Yeah. I personally would cut the Shining Spears, I think, to turn it into Vipers, because you almost get 3 Vipers for that price point. You don't have the slots for it, but like 2 Vipers would be good, I think. And then you can spend the rest of the points. I mean, you have a Wire Weave Net in here, which can go. Yeah. I personally like Vipers. They just fly everywhere and do everything. Other than that, I mean, the list is pretty good. I don't want you to go to a battalion. Brad, what's your thought on that?
I'm back and forth. I'm currently running a battalion. So
You are. I do think that's the point where you cut either Baharoth or Karandras.
So I ended up cutting Baharoth on that. I cut Baharoth, went to a battalion, and I put it a webway gate.
I could see that. I personally would cut Karandras.
The fact that I could, the webway gate was really nice just because of the CP usage, because you can literally you get more CP. The webway gate effectively means that you could put 29 power level in reserve for 1 CP, because it takes the CP, halves it, and then rounds down. So
yeah,
that's a big deal. And then it also gives you multiple spots to come in from. And it also means that you can just kind of auto take hidden path, because you have to just take your gate. So
yeah. I mean, outside of including a gate, although I do think a gate can do well on non-GW terrain formats, if you go to a battalion, you're basically pricing yourself.
GW trade, it's amazing. You just put it in the middle. They don't count anything but the walls. They don't count the flat parts.
Oh, well, that's not bad. I haven't tried to place it though, so I'm not 100% sure. You're basically pricing yourself in. You basically have a battalion here, except you're pricing yourself into cutting Karandras to include 2 units of Rangers, and you get 3 CP, which I'm not, or Baharoth, I guess. Brad cuts Baharoth. I would never.
I just like Karandras. Karandras made the cut for me just because of the fact that it's just another set of mortal wounds that you also have. He can spike up very, very big into non-vehicles, of course.
But he can.
Especially with your fate dice there. So he's just hard for me to cut. He also gives you a very, with the Scorpions and Crushing Blow, because you've got 7 attacks with Exploding Sixes doing auto wounds. You can put a lot of pressure on somebody's to make them do things on turn 1, where they have to go do something about that, and they have to not push into you on that.
Yeah. What I would do is, I think because it's straight swap of either Baharoth or Karandras for 2 units of Rangers, I honestly think I would do it, and then you give your Farseer the Kernus's Bow and Mark of the Incomparable Hunter. So he basically is another problem solver like either Baharoth or Karandras would be. And you just start at 4 CP, which is a great number to start at. You end up with some extra points, and I personally would swap the Shining Spears for another unit of Wind Riders. That's just my own personal approach to that.
I actually really like having a unit of cannon bikes, because they can move block, moving 22 and still shooting all their shots. And it's something that's really nice when you want to get around something. So you use that 22 inches, put that 20 shots into somebody, and sometimes it's very, very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. The problem is you're capped on slots here, right? Like you're capped on fast, you're capped on elites, you're capped on heavy, and you're capped on HQs. So you can either put any extra points you have into Rangers, or you can upgrade those Catapult Wind Riders to Shuriken Cannons.
I do like the Shining Spears quite a bit, though. They put out a decent volume of shots also. You got to figure they've got 3 cannon shots, 2 lance shots, 8 catapult shots.
Yeah. I would pretty strongly consider, honestly, dropping 2 of the Dire Avengers down to 6-mans and including 2 Falcons to put them in.
It's a completely different list then.
It's not completely different. You just have 2 units in 2 Falcons, and I think that works.
I played it. I actually played remember I was playing 2 Falcons for a while.
What's your opinion?
I like it, but I didn't like it at the same time, because I didn't think the Falcons did enough for what their points were. I love to be able to threaten, because you can also do things like put the Howling Banshees in there and just go, if you mess up your deployment at all, I'm just going to be assaulting you. But then at that
Yeah,
point in time, I want Ghost Walk probably.
yeah, you would need Ghost Walk at that point if you're building into it. I don't hate it.
And the thing is the other thing is I would like to, if I was going to choose just one Warlock power, I would go with Quicken instead of Protect Jinx. I love Protect Jinx, don't get me wrong.
Hold on.
But Quicken's a big deal.
I think that's a transcription error. I believe his list did actually have Quicken.
Okay.
But if it doesn't, it should. But I believe it did.
It's important to have that, not just for psychic secondaries, but also for late game moves and stuff like that. It's a big deal to steal objectives from somebody. You just cast Will on something and then you Quicken it.
Yeah, he had Quicken. He had Quicken. That's my fault. I copied over from your list when we were making fun of your Bealtan list and it didn't have Quicken in it. That's my mistake.
It's literally one of 5,000 variations. I love that I was playing Hail the entire time. You're like, Brad didn't have any of this stuff in. Yes, he did.
I never said you didn't play Hail. I did say I had to convince you to not play Bealtan, and you know that's true.
We said both. We put both on the table.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think this list is pretty good. I think I would probably go to a battalion just so you have more CP. What I would like, actually, is to include Focus Will. I think Focus Will is very good in Eldar at the moment. Because it really gives you a leg up on the psychic secondaries. Right, because you cast your Warp Ritual +2 through their deny, and then you have a deny of +2 for their Warp Ritual. And I think that's pretty powerful of a mechanic. Because there's some armies where they are reaching for that third secondary, and they're like, oh, okay, Warp Ritual. I'm just going to do Warp Ritual, and that's my third secondary. And then if they can't pick that, they're like, oh, I guess I'm picking Engage on all fronts. Like, I have no other options. So they're probably still taking Warp Ritual, and you can just be like, I'm +2 deny. No. And it's a pretty strong leg up. I'm actually a big fan of Focus Will in Eldar right now, just to win out on those psychic secondary duels.
Hard for you cutting one of these powers, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you're starting at 4 CP, I think you can cut Fateful Divergence. Legitimately, I think you can.
Maybe it's just the beginning of CP is big.
I agree, but I do think the tech of being able to just tell your opponent, I get a psychic secondary. You, on the other hand, no psychic secondary.
I don't hate it. The Eldar, all of the psychics have potential uses.
They are good. Ghost Walk, as we said, is good. Doom, Guide are great. Will of Asurian is great. Fateful Divergence is great. Even the Mortal Wound powers are really, really good. Crushing Orb is phenomenal. I'm actually
Crushing Orb's super underrated, by the way. Yeah,
I'm actually taking a Farseer. Brad, you're gonna like this. I'm taking a Farseer on bike. I'm take a different one. A different one has Focus Will, but the Farseer that I have on bike has Crushing Orb, plus Executioner, plus a Singing Spear, because I had 5 points left over. I mean, screw it, right?
Nice.
And then I had 5 points, and the Wire Weave Net is now 10, so that was just non-starter. Plus the Warlord trait Mark of the Incomparable Hunter, but not Kurnus's bow, because I did not want to start at 1 CP and lose my redeploy. I would have bought Kurnus's bow if I could have. So you use the Shuriken Catapult, and just every 6 to hit or wound is a mortal wound, and a AP3 save in addition.
Beat that with a bat.
And yeah, and then you just hand this guy +2 to cast, and he's like, Crushing Orb, Executioner, and 1 CP Smite. Oh, look at that, you're dead. Bye.
All of the good things, my friends.
Yeah. So we have some questions here in chat. Snivar Peterson, who is just one of my favorite Icelanders. Jackety Harpoon, give us a TLDR on Custodes into Iron Hands. I think Custodes should win that one, but if the Iron Hands first turn of shooting is rough for you, then you can be in some trouble. I assume you're talking about the good Custodes list, where you take a lot of Dreadnoughts and Calladii. If you get first turn, they're probably in some trouble, because you move up the board, and then you take the first turn of shooting, and then you kill them. If they go first and they crack you, you could be in some trouble. So it's very volatile. Theory Creep asks, thoughts on the Webway Gate breaking Strands of Fate. Strands of Fate reads that every unit from your army has the Asuriani keyword and is drawn from the same craft world, excluding Phoenix Lord and Wraith and unaligned keywords. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brad. I believe that it is not a unit.
No, it's not a unit. It becomes a piece of terrain.
Yeah. So fortification is not a unit unless it has stats, which it Webway does not. Wish I could shoot that thing to death, but no.
It is not. It is literally a piece of terrain at the end.
Generic Hero asks, Eldar detachments, I've seen a lot of patrol and something else. What's the benefit over a battalion? Extra slots. For example, my list I'm taking this weekend. Yep. The list I'm taking this weekend to Crucible has 8 heavy supports. There is no way a battalion is going to fit 8 heavy supports.
Yeah.
So I had to go a patrol and a spearhead.
The thing is that when you're playing in a huge MSU army like this, you just need the slots a lot of times. You just want a lot of heavies, you want a lot of elites, you want a lot of fast, and the only way to do that is to double detachment a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that. This list here is unique in that it has the slots of a battalion, so might as well make it a battalion. But a lot of the time you're going to see like triple Wind Rider, triple Viper. Yeah, I mean, the triple Viper is cuttable, but like triple Falcon, triple Fire Prism, double Warwalker, not super cuttable down to 3 slots. Or in the elites, you can take a battalion, it's fine. But fast attack, a lot of the time you will overstretch with Eldar, and you'll need to take a patrol and a Vanguard, or not a Vanguard, an Outrider. That, I mean, if you find yourself building a concept that requires a lot of units that are like not troops and are all in one slot, then you probably want to take a patrol and either an Outrider, Vanguard, or Spearhead.
So,
yep. Also, Eldar generates CP well, so starting low is not necessarily a problem.
At the end of the year. So,
how does an army like this handle the blob of trans-hit Terminators? That's a question from Nick. I assume not Nanavati. So, Brad, you want to chip in, or I can take this one?
I don't know what the... Read it again.
How does an army like this handle the blob of trans-hitman Terminators?
I don't do anything to it for a while. I move block it with things like Warwalkers, Vipers. If I have to for a turn, and I try to kill everything else the Eldar way, which is you're faster than your opponent most of the time. You can pick your engagements.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. And you do have Doom. They're going to make it so you are not rerolling hits, but you can nickel and dime that unit down.
Yep. You can auto wound on 6s to hit, and then you can reroll your wounds.
Yep.
You don't really want to move block infantry because they'll charge, right?
No. I'm saying if he gets to the point where they're at the middle and they have the ability to get back to your back edge, so you ignore them for a turn or two, and then what happens is when they get up and they're trying to get into your, say, if you're 5 objectives and they're in the middle, then you wrap to make it so that they can't get a good charge into your corner objectives.
Yeah, that works. That works pretty good.
You only want to do that once, but you don't want to put things up early, 100%, because they will just get extra movement off. And I'm saying once they get to that point where they can charge it.
Yeah. That makes more sense. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You ignore it, shoot everything else, and then try to contain it after you've killed the rest of their stuff.
Yep. And or just literally run away.
I agree with you about Wraith Guards coming from reserves. They are just really expensive. I think they need to get
they're just, for what they do, they're way too expensive. It's just their point efficiency.
I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry. I don't know if this was asked, but what do you think about Corsairs and Eldar lists? Good when cheap?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. If you have extra points or you need some objective play, just toss a unit of Void Reavers or Void Scarred in. I have a unit of Void Reavers in my list because I had 50 points.
They're good. They're upside.
Yeah. Is there a viable power level cheese to get more demons into CSM or Chaos Knights? I don't know power level of any unit in the game. Not a single one. This is the kind of thing where I would go look at the codex, figure it out, remember what package I want to include, and then completely forget the power level of the included units. All right. Generic Hero says, in my Hail of Doom list, I run an Autark because I roll a lot of 1s. With the volume of shots from the Dire Avengers, I feel like he earns his points. You can do that. There are lists, I think, that can use an Autark, although generally I think Eldar is stuck on slots.
The problem is they're never around him for me. It's in practice. I have used an Autark. Same reasons. But what happens is the Dire Avengers are almost always, for me, showing up from reserve, and they're just not around him. I can get within 18 of my guide and things of that nature, but I'm just not going to be within my 6-inch bubbles of Autark bonuses because of the fact that I want to be surgically striking with them, and I want to be the striker, not the strikee. So because again, they're still T3, so I want to hit first.
I also think that you want to be I think you want to be using Doom and Guide, and then you don't want to be using too many resources all at once. So like a lot of the time you don't want to use all 30 Dire Avengers in one turn. You want to use a 10 man that gets guided and its target is doomed. And then the following turn you expose another one, and the following turn you expose another one.
They'll get picked up afterwards. So
you also run out of HQ slots and points really bad to include an Autark. Although I think this build could get away with it, but it doesn't have the slots.
Yeah. 100% on that.
Unfortunately, it's Autark is always just like not quite includable.
If he was just a little punchier too.
Yeah, if he like did anything. Yeah, that would be dope.
He just gets beat up by every other character. He can't take on a squad, so.
Yeah. I mean, Autark on bike is not like the worst.
No, he's all right. But the thing is that, but he's just not getting his points. You're just not going to be together like that in an Eldar list because you just can't be.
In a mech list, I considered taking him to support like the 3 units of Dire Avengers that I have, but like, also the part I was actually like thinking about was let's use 2 CP rerolls in a phase, and if you're taking shooting from your opponent, 2 CP rerolls can actually go a long way towards keeping your army healthy, but just no way it like makes the cut, unfortunately. A theory creep. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't really know the rules minutia there. I'm the wrong person to ask. The person you should ask is John tomorrow in Hot Players Debate Hot Topics, or whatever you guys call it. That is the person you should ask these rules questions to, because he's good on the rules.
But it doesn't break.
I know it doesn't break. I just don't know why. Because rules minutia is not my forte.
You can send them to the Art of War Discord Fix My List channel.
Yeah. If you want to see us talk about your list, talk about how handsome you are, etc., you will need to go to our Discord. If you are a member, then you go to our Discord. And if you're not a member, then you become a member. And then you go to our Discord, and then you post the list and fix my list. So it's a very simple flow chart I've come up with.
I like your chart. I followed it. I flowed into the chart.
Theory creep. Tell tomorrow when you ask John that, tell him I sent you. I will not tell him that I've done any of this.
Also, John,
and then you can just say Jack said you would tell
much. You ready to dance your way out? I'm gonna go crawl under a table and die. So.
Classic Brad.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us.
I will talk to you later.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. I will probably talk to you afterwards and be like, I need help fixing my Eldar list for Crucible. Maybe we'll do fix my list on my list, but I doubt it.
We should have. I'm out.